Adjas, professor at Mongolia International University, and has been working on education and sanitation empowerment projects in Laos for 7 years. And he majored in urban regeneration to develop his expertise in deliberative democracy. So, Mr. Dong-Ryul Kang, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, Mr. Dong-Ryul Kang, thank you for coming, and the time is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Selamat pagi. And I saw Cambodian flag also. So 좀 입소 리언이나 다이반 좀 내요. And I also saw Vietnam flag. Xin chào. And also I can see Korean participant. 안녕하세요. Hello world. My name is Kang Dong-Ryul. And from now on, I'm gonna start my session. It is an honor to be here and glad to see you here. So today, oh, what's on the chatting? So the host asked me to share some best practices of youth engagement in global action and some explanation about SDGs and how to start the project or from the idea to action. So I'm not a perfect guy, but I'm gonna do my best. So before I start my presentation, I'm gonna introduce SDSN, where I belong. So SDSN is United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, launched by UN Secretary General in 2012 to mobilize global scientific and technological expertise to promote practical problem solving for SDGs and post 2020. And here's our director, the well-known Professor Jeffrey Sachs. And we have 3 secretaries in Paris and Delhi and New York. And we also have various nationality members. We have more than 35 nationalities and more than 140 team members, include Indonesia, Philippines, and other Southeast Asia. So I think every participant can collaborate with SDSN because we also have SDSN Amazonia located in Brazil. So feel free to contact to SDSN. Just Google us. And our slogan is empowering youth globally to create sustainable development solutions. And our focus is, do you know what is this? The symbol of SDGs and the post 2020 symbol. That is our focus to creating sustainable future for future generations. And our aims and objectives is 3 things. First thing is educate young people about the SDGs and create pathway for achieving them. And second thing is connect young people globally to exchange ideas, share experiences, and collaborate to achieve the SDGs. And the third thing is support young people in the creation and scaling of innovation solutions for the SDGs. And here's our networks. Find your country and contact us. And this is our structure. And I belongs to Korea network because I'm Korean. In Korean network, we have a bunch of members, youth member organizations and youth member associations. There are 5 member organizations are collaborating with us, and there are 37 universities which is collaborating us. And here's our partners. And we have three teams in SDSN News Korea. And here's our members. We 17 SDG facilitators, which is same name, same number with SDG goals. And me, we are helping our 75 youth member organizations and more. We have and we have more than 1,700 youth activists in our network. So we are supporting them. And I would like to introduce our team. Here is our team, Korean team and global team. But I think I misquote the photo. I mean, now we are living in new normal era, so I think I need to change our team picture like this, right? And today we also using Zoom for our collaboration. Here's our global team. So COVID-19 changed a lot of things for us, right? To us. Before COVID, the global society was like looks like this, right? There was global level and regional level agenda, national level agenda, and local level agenda. There was some borders, but after the COVID-19, we can cross the border. There is no more limitation, right? So we can communicate directly through but through the internet, and we can share our information and we can do something with together, right? Because we don't need to meet together. And this sounds a bit good, but in some other way is not good, right? UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said, by sharing ideas crossing borders and disciplines, we can find solutions to the interconnected problems that cause so much suffering. Climate change is not just an environmental threat, it is closely tied to poverty. And poverty is not just about jobs, it is directly related to food security, and food security has an impact on health. Health affects generation of children, and children hold the key to our future. And education can lead to progress on all these fronts. So nowadays, the COVID-19 threat us because of the climate change, and also climate change affect to us, right? It it, it becomes real, right? This sentence quote from 2010, but in 2021 and 2020 and 2019, it becomes real, right? This is no more just idea sentence, right? It reflects our real life. So I would like to encourage you to achieve SDG, and let's do something together to achieve SDGs. And SDG is uh, another splendid word from United Nations. It's your real life. For example, uh, if you want to eat something, SDG 2 should be achieved. And if you want to live healthy, SDG 3 or 6 should be achieved. And if you want a high wage job, you should achieve SDG 8, right? Or 9. And if you If you want to breathe in clean air, you need to achieve SDG 13 and 7 and 15, right? Basically, this is not a goal. This is just fundamental your needs, right? So if you want to be healthy and happy, you should do SDGs, right? Not just want to be a global leader, right? So I would like to deliver the essence of sustainable development from the United Nations. So development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. That is the meaning of sustainable development. So this is not the sentence from New York or anywhere. This is just for you and your friends and your family and your neighborhood or even your future generations, your sons or daughters. So let's uh, try to achieve SDGs all together. And the thing what we need for achieving SDG is this sentence, I think. Uh, Earth needs not a global leader, but a global citizen. You don't need to be a global leader, and you don't need to be the best person in the world. You, every one of you, are already very special, and every one of because you are special, your little participation can make a big change for step one step forward to SDGs like them, right? Everyone knows these two girls, right? One is Greta Thunberg and the other one is Malala Yousafzai. They're also they are also future generations, same as you, right? And they create a lot of positive impacts for the world and future generation. And to me, you're same with them, and maybe you can create more positive impact for the earth or yourself or your neighbor or your family or your country if you decide to achieving SDGs and do something, even if a little thing from now on. I think we all can create a lot of positive impacts to the world. I would like to share some references what you can try for the sustainable development of this planet through the chatting room. Maybe sometimes after you can uh, check these things. I share the URL so you can read it later because I only have 10 minutes. So I'm gonna skip. There are many good references to achieving sustainable development goals in your daily life. So I share the URL. And also, if you do some vegetarian diet, that can be uh, helpful one step for sustainable future. And even if you can use secret mode when you browsing or when you fix your cell phone and do not change your cell phone, that can also become a good effect for certain feature. And you should be aware about many certificate certifications. I mean, such as fair trade or vegan or ROHS or cruelty free. You need to uh, you need to be curious. You should have some curiosity when you're doing shopping. Anyway, cut down this part. And because when the United Nations, when they creating sustainable development goals, they asked the future generations opinion and the worldwide opinion through the internet and many surveys. So uh, you can also uh, acquire uh, to achieve the SDG to your government, such as uh, such as Korea. From now on, I would like to share the cases of SDG in Korea. So, in Korea or other country, there are several national SDGs are exist, such as Cambodia. I saw the Cambodian participant. Do you know your country established their own SDGs for your country? There are CSDGs established by Cambodian government. CSDG is Cambodian SDGs, and they create even 18 goals to achieving sustainable development goals in their own country. Same as Cambodia, Korean government, they also create KSDGs, which is Korea SDGs, to achieve SDG in their national level. And I know you can't read these Korean letters, but I'm gonna explain. So our government also summon the ministries of each department, and they distribute the SDG goals to SDG goal number 4 for Ministry of Education, SDG number 8 for Ministry of Economic, SDG number 15 and 13 and 14 for Ministry of Environment, like this. And not only our central government, but also our local government, they also create their local SDGs, such as Seoul SDGs. Seoul is the capital city of Korea, and they also align every tasks for to their departments to achieving SDGs. But during this kind of progress, they didn't ask the opinion of future generations. So, as Citizen News Korea, we just think about this. Why they do not ask to us? Because SDG is the agenda for future generations. But we are future generations. Why they just make decision and why we just follow? So we decide to make some change in our national level and local level. So we just think, how can we change this kind of progress? And after our thinking, we ask ourselves like this: do you want to be one of them or none of them? Because there are too many youth organizations who are treating SDGs, but they just acting by separately, right? This organization do this thing, this organization do same thing, but separately, and another organization do something good thing, but separately. So I think this kind of separation, it 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 bring this kind of anti-communication situation in Korean society. So we create SDG Youth Committee with many youth organizations who are dealing with sustainable development goals and post 2020 agenda. And we, at the first moment, we just have 8 members. But every semester we invite another youth organization, and another youth organization to make a solidarity movement forward our National Assembly to create something friendly to youth generation and sustainable development, of course. So we have many discussions, and we create some report of the needs of future generation achieving SDGs in our local level. And we do some protest and some campaigns. And this is the first step of SDSN Youth Korea. We invited the Seoul Metropolitan Government mayor, and we present what is the needs of future generation in Korea, and how can Seoul Metropolitan Government achieve the SDGs in the city level. And next year, this is the City Hall of Seoul Metropolitan Government. And next year, we also uh, held another e-conference to asking the opinions of future generations. And after 8 times of e-conference, we established YSDGs, which is Youth SDGs in Korea. And we invite several National Assembly members and several Secretary General of SDG Committee in Korea, and some chairmen who related with SDGs and climate action, etc. agenda. And we announce the youth SDG in front of them, and we create the youth level political forum, same as high level political forum of United Nations. And we also create a Youth Sustainable Development Alliance, same with the local Sustainable Alliance of Korean government. And now we have more than 1,700 members with 75 youth member organizations, and we create another report for achieving SDGs in our national level, and we submit this to our National Assembly. And this is Blue House, where our president are office doing some office job. And next Tuesday, I invite to the Blue House because our president want to listen the opinion of future generation to achieving sustainable development goals in Korea. So I'm gonna bring our report of the voices of our Korean future generations to our president. So I would like to believe then maybe 5 years later or 10 years later, Korea became one of the most achieved country for SDGs. Anyway, for the last thing, I would like to share a famous sentence of Theodore Heuss, who is the first president of Federal Republic of Germany. He said, "Politics cannot change culture, but culture can change politics." And we are youth, right? And we are really good at using social media, such as tweet or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, something. We can lead the culture of your country and the world, right? So why don't we create some sustainable culture for the future generation and yourself? Then and then maybe the politicians, decision makers, and policymakers, they can follow us because we are the culture leader, right? So do you know this guy, Joaquin Phoenix? He's the famous. He's one of the famous actor in USA, and he is another famous guy in Hollywood, Leonardo Dicaprio. These two guys, when they won a prize in Oscar and Academy, they didn't say a word for the appreciation for their family or their wife. They just announced we are in the era of climate crisis. So we need to do something for the climate change. That was their speech in the actor prize awards. So when you become when you become influence when you become a person who have influence or who have impact, I would like to say don't don't forget about SDGs and spread out your sustainable spirit to others because you deserve it, and that is also for yourself. And lastly, oh, time's up. Lastly, uh, keep your keep your eyes open always. This is the entrance of United Nations headquarters, and I would like to zoom in. The global society, they're spending a lot of uh, budget for weapons, right? But if we let's see the below things, provide clean and safe energy, the global society only spent $50 billion per year, and retired developing nations debit, the global society only use $30 billion per year, right? The disarming nation agenda is also really important, but due to the diplomatic uh, situation, the global society only focus on climate change and corona pandemic, right? But due to we are young, we are youth, so we don't have any political uh, conflict. So we should also uh, drag, bring this agenda to the front, right? Such as our neighbor country, Myanmar and Thailand. Uh, Nowadays, they are having tough time, right? Also, Hong Kong, their government uh, kill a lot of their innocent people. But we are, even though we are their neighbor, we don't know about their situation, and we don't care about their situation. But just taking picture of just taking a picture with three fingers, or you you can tweet something to their government. You should stop to killing your civilians like that. Then maybe you can also help to stop their martial martial law situation, right? So this is my last word, and thank you for concentration.
Yeah, we do concentrate a lot. Thank you so much for Mr. How should I call you, Mr. Dong or Mr. Kang?
Kang.
Kang. So your family name is Kang, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much for the time, Mr. Kang. And without further ado, let's go to the next agenda, Q&A sessions. I know that you have so many questions, but before I go to the chat, actually I advise you to deliver your question on the chat in case we don't have enough time for you to speak up. But now we have two leaders from Indonesia that already raised their hands. So let's go to the first questions from Megah Bintang. Hello, Megah Bintang.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for the insight. There's one highlight part that I really like from your presentation. You said that SDGs is not a goal. It's supposed to be a rights for people, for us, for all of us to access from. There is one, I have been attending several discussions on SDGs, and like one question or discussion problematic issue that usually appear is sometimes SDG is seen as a elitist problem or elitist idea. For example, for the climate change, because like for the alternative, it's so expensive for people to afford, right? So let alone contributing to the SDGs, it's hard for them to put meals on the table on a daily basis. So like my question is for you, how do you cater this issue? How do you like reach out to people under the poverty line maybe for them to engage to the issues? And do you think it is actually the responsibility relies on those people who live comfortably, or like it is the problem, or the responsibility should be rely on people who live under the poverty line? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think that is directly related with my last sentence. There are a lot of the waste of budget in global society, right? Killing other peoples, right? But this armination is the solution, in my think, and we should ask to the leaders and your government to reduce the budget for the national defense and how can I say, change to use the budget for the social welfare. That can be one of the solution. And I also would like to introduce you the common but different responsibility philosophy. Have you ever heard about this thing? Common but different responsibility. It's starting from the climate justice theory. So many of Western countries, they are developed, right? And they have a lot of fortune. They have a lot of, but where the budget, where the money comes from? Past 200 years, or 300 years, or 400 years, they colonize all around the world, and uh, they slayed a lot of slayers, and they do some very bad things in or around the world. And during this kind of progress, they also create a lot of carbon emission, right? So they have burden to developing countries, right? So this is the time to pay back their burden to developing countries. So in my opinion, and many environmental professors think, developed country, they should supporting developing country to reducing their carbon emission. So I think global society should not do same measurement to developing country group and developed country groups. They should do harsh to developed country group. Yeah. That is fair.
Okay, thank you so much for Mr. Kang for the answer. So I think it's related to the previous presentations that sometimes those who are creating the emissions and stuff are not the one who receive the impact. Sometimes those people who didn't do that are the one who receive the effect of the global emissions and stuff. So I think it's the responsible also of the developed country to do that. So thank you so much. Let's go to the question from the chat. And after that, we will go to the speak up sessions. And we have a question from Ms. Khalil, Mr. Kang. The questions is two. There are two questions. Miss Sahara, please mute your voice. Miss Sahara, please mute your voice. So the question from Mr. Khalil is the first. On the issue of getting high turnout from students to events, for example, conference in South Korea, the first, does the SDZ brand play a huge role in convincing the people to come? And the second, does SDZ provides a room for recommendations to grow well with support from them to become adapted? Can you hear my voice, sir?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so there's two questions. Does SDZ play a huge role in convincing people to come? And the second, does SDZ provides a room for recommendations to grow well with support from you?
Well, for the first question, SDSN brand do not play a huge role in convincing people to come, but the thing, I think the power comes from people. I think we create a lot of content for just general people. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So such as we provide some card news for advocating the SDGs. I'm gonna share some link. We just provide easy content, which can people agree, and which can bring some interest from people. Then that can be some our power of movement. Yeah, actually, most of people they don't know about SDSN, but they just interested in our content and our campaign, and they join us. That is the answer of the first question. And second question, yeah, we provide some supporting system, but we own it from our government or governmental organization. We do some meetings with our government, and when we persuade them, the government they interest in our suggestion, and then they adopt our suggestion and they provide some use activities.
Ah, I see. So I think it's also related to your agenda next Tuesday, going to Blue House and talking to the presidents. So the purpose is to deliver the voice of youth to the government, right?
What?
So the question is about, the second question is about whether or not the voice that you collect from the youths will be adapted, right? Become adapted to the government. So I think it's related to Mr. Kang already told us before that next Tuesday he will meet the president of South Korea in the Blue House, correct? Am I correct? Yeah, I think one of the agenda is to deliver the voice of youth that have been collected before. So it goes two ways. I think it's true that even if you have a voice, if it is not being listened, it is useless. So I think before you voicing out, make sure that people are listening to you. And one of the way to make sure people listen to you, make a good content.
And I would like to add one more sentence.
Yes, sure.
Actually, I spent more than 8 years for this.
Oh.
When I was a bachelor student, when I was university student, I started this plan. This was my 10 years course, 10 years long course. So this didn't pop up in a year or 2 year. It was
see.
really long-term strategy and long-term progress. So
I
don't be
see.
hurry, and you might be live almost 80 or 90 years old, right? You are just 20 or 25, something. I don't know, but you should think live long strategy.
Yeah. Okay. So I think, as you know, the SDGs have 9 more years to achieve the goals in 2030. We know the SDGs have so long years in the duration of reaching it. So you guys also will have your time. It's okay if it is a slow progress today, but as long as you keep going, that's okay. Thank
Be
you so much for the
patient.
questions. And the next question is, we have Nurmaida. Nurmaida, where are you?
Yes, I am here.
Yeah, sure. Deliver your question, please.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Nurmaida. I came from Indonesia. I want to asking about, as we know that Indonesia is archipelago country, and how to approach local government and the marginalized areas to empowering sustainable development goals and to localize the implementation of sustainable development goals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Ms. Nurmaida. So the question is about how to reach more people in the localized area and marginalized area to educate them about SDGs.
Yeah.
What should we do, sir? As you were staying in Laos and Cambodia before, what should we do about that?
Yeah. When I was in Laos, I just built some schools and classroom and toilet in local area and teach children to how can wash their hands or how can they sing a song, those kind of things. Anyway, so back to the question, Miss Nura, right? Is it right, Nura?
Nur Maida.
Nur Maida, yes.
Right, yes.
I think this is new normal era, so there is no more order. I mean, the physical collaboration is no longer needed. I mean, we can connect by through using internet, right? And everyone use social media, right? So just planning and doing social media campaign, I think that is enough because in let's see through the Myanmar case, they're the dictator, right? They're military dictator. They cut down the internet, right? Because he afraid about the solidarity through the internet, right? Are you there? Yeah.
Yes,
So
continue, please.
by using internet, we can create more impact, and we can make solidarity with other people in your country or maybe in other country people.
I see. So as we are entering a new normal era, so I think it is good for us to start connect with more people through internet, correct?
Yes.
But I think it's related to the next question from Maria from Indonesia. And she said that Indonesia is a developing country, which means the internet is not available for everyone. There are some people from some island that don't have any access for the internet. So what do you think? Which one they should prefer to develop first? Infrastructure to make sure that the internet and electrical is available, or the education first? Which one do you think that developing country should develop first, infrastructure or education?
Well, quite tough question, but also simple question. I think in the mainstream of the official development assistant in global society, they recommend to do some program-oriented direction, not a project-oriented direction. Do you know about the differences between projects and programs?
No, sir.
Projects means projects only focus on one problem. So, for example, there is how can I say? My name is Kang. So let me make uh, some fake country.
Mm-hmm.
My country is Kang country. So Naisha country want to help Kang country, and Naisha country create education supporting program, and in the education supporting program, there should be book supply project and uh, establishing school project and teachers training teachers project, and make a school facility project like this. So when we think about local development, we should approaching by program-based approach. That is my opinion. So we also consider about infrastructure at the same time, the education together.
Oh, I see. Thank you so much, Mr. Kang, with the answer. So based on Mr. Kang's answer, I think he think it's possible to do one program that can develop both of infrastructure and educations in one go. But of course, it will take times, or it will take most of thinking, or more planning to make sure that the program really achieve the two main agenda, both infrastructure and educations. But it go best well to the country, it go back again to the people who are working on it. Thank you so much. And I will take one more question from the speak up, Mr. Kausu.
Yes,
Mr. Kausu.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Thank you very much, Ms. Naisa, for giving me the floor. Peace be upon everybody. It's my pleasure to represent my country in this virtual forum. Thank you very much, the committee, for giving me the opportunity. It's a big pleasure to be in a diverse academic community, to hear different perspective, different background. It's very enriching. Yes, thank you, Mr. Dong, also for the presentation. My question is, you mentioned something very critical and important regarding the crisis in Asian countries, for example, Hong Kong, Myanmar, and other countries like that. And in your presentation, you seem to be putting the blame on the rulers. My question to you would be, don't you think the imperialists are often responsible for this entire chaotic situation? I mean, like, take a look at Libya, take a look at Iraq, take a look at other countries that are similar to this nation. Yeah, they can have rulers that may not be best. But when the imperialists, the former colonialists, like we are very well aware of the history of colonization, when they push them to take these leaders out by force, don't you think the damage overcomes the intended benefit, of the entire purpose of the rallies? Take a look at the Yellow Vest protests in France. It doesn't remove the president. Take a look at the Black Lives Matter movement in the US. It doesn't, no one supplies any arms and force these people to remove their leadership, because there is a process to remove a leader. A leader is installed on a systematic process. So if you want to remove a leader through the streets, you end up, bombing and destroying your streets and suffering for the next decades. And then the imperialists keep coming in to tap the oils and other valuable resources and calling for humanitarian aid on the other sides. So I think I was asking your opinion, actually. Don't you think the citizenry should also come up with new measures and mechanisms that will systematically and easily impede their leaders out of power, instead of going to streets and trying to force them out by destroying their own countries built by their own, decades of sacrifices and efforts. That's my question, really. I want to hear your elaboration on that point. Thank you very much, Ms. Naisa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kausu. For Mr. Khan, the time is yours.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you for your question. And I strongly agree with your question. Actually, that was not a question, just that was your opinion. And I strongly agree with your opinion. From now on, this is not a opinion of SDSN, just opinion of myself, just individual. I think United Nations is already unfair, right? There are 5 countries in the Security Council, right? But they have the veto right? When they don't want this agenda, they can use veto right? That is totally unfair, right? And those 5 countries, they also have a nuclear weapon, and they create NPT, right? NPT, and to make a limitation to other country can create nuclear weapon and use some power to others. But last question to them: are your country is justice, such as USA? Are they justice? Always justice? No, right? Sometimes justice, but many times do not. And are France they justice? No, they had many blood in Africa countries, right? But the world is fundamentally not fair. But the thing is, we are young, and we have voice, and we have passion to create ideal future, right? So step by step, we should integrate our colleagues, and we should make some solidarity as a humanity, and we should suggest more ideal future and ideal opinion to policymaker and decision maker or other developed countries to create more fair future and more sustainable future. That is my opinion.
Okay, thank you so much for Mr. Kang. Yeah, so there's also some opinions from Mr. Obaidur from Bangladesh. I think those countries, leaders such as Libya, Iraq, and so on, were dictators. It's not anybody created their territory suddenly. So yeah, I do. Since the time is up, so I will just conclude all of the questions and the answer and the presentation that we had. I think it makes me realize that all of your questions, guys, all of your questions and all of the discussion that we had, it makes me realize that you really know that our enemy is not only about global issue. It's not only about climate problem. It's not only about the environment problem, but our real enemy actually are those people who are controlling those problems behind the stage. As Mr. Kausu said, as Mr. Ubaidu said, there are some people who have the control over the things that give the problem for us. So it's kind of surprised me that you really realize about those issues. And at some point, we do really have a big problem waiting for us. But thank you so much that you decided to keep going. Thank you so much that you decided to come to this forum, because it proved us that you really want to give some hopes, even if the challenge is really bigger than what we can see through our eyes. Thank you so much for that. And I think further, is it okay for us to share your contact, sir, to our participants? Yeah, sure. And then I hope that after this forum is only the beginning, guys. This forum is only the start of everything. After this, I hope that you can do more and collaborate more with all of our speakers. And I was looking forward to hear more about you. And it also gave me insight that speaking up, voicing out is not the only thing that we should do. but making sure that people are listening to us is also one of our purposes. So the last one, you don't have to be the best person in the world, but you have to be the best person of yourself, because that way we can educate people, we can connect people, and give support to solve and support SDGs. And thank you so much for Mr. Dong-Ryul Kang, and thank you so much for all of your participations for this conference sessions.